Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent yesterday threatened a new series of sanctions aimed at crippling Iran's economy, but he provided few concrete details on that. Bessent also said President Trump is contacting world leaders to cease their interactions with the regime, although he did not identify the leaders or give any deadlines. He was also pressed on China's role in propping up the Iranian regime.
Chinese banks have often been talked about being targeted, but we don't see any of those institutions targeted here. Is that something that is coming in this campaign, or is the very delicate trade truce with China something that could prohibit you from going that far and taking that very big step?
We want to make clear here today that no one is above the reach of U.S. sanctions. That if they facilitate transactions and are part of the ecosystem that turns Iranian oil into money, into repression, they will be targeted. We find that the best way to engage with countries is through quiet diplomacy, and we are level setting with every country to tell them our expectations.
You described this as an economic D-Day, but D-Day wasn't a threat of an invasion, and the U.S. didn't give a timeline to Germany. So why not impose the sanctions today?
Well, we are giving everyone the opportunity to remedy bad behavior. Why would I want to blow up the global financial system? We believe that it is important to level set and give people a cure period, but they should know that that will move very quickly and that we are serious. We believe that a warning shot and a level set of expectations is appropriate. And if people do not want to meet our expectations, then we expect, and they should expect, that will leave the dollar system.
Okay, Iranian officials are dismissing the new threats, with the country's parliament speaker saying the United States is not in an economic position to restrict its relations with other countries. Joining us now to talk about that, senior writer at The Dispatch, columnist at Bloomberg Opinion, David Drucker. David, Scott Bessent sounded really, really tough there. Very much believing that the U.S. is in power of determining how this goes. But to use Trump's own equation, especially as he was talking to Zelensky once, we don't have the cards. Do we have the cards, or does China have the cards?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question, Mika, and I think we're going to find out. I think there are a million ways I could pick this apart. Let me just first, let me level set us, as the secretary said, and make clear that ratcheting up pressure on the Iranian regime to reduce the terrorism that it proliferates all over the globe, particularly in the Middle East, is a very good idea, and one that the United States should be engaged in at all times. I think the question is, would a strategy like this that targeted Iran's economy been a good idea before we started shooting versus after, right? Because you can then gradually ratchet up pressure. Secondly, Mika, this would be, I think, a much easier strategy to accomplish if we set aside for a minute that Tehran doesn't care about economic pressure, because they don't care about having a thriving economy. Because if they did, they wouldn't have been in this position for the last 40 plus years. But let's set that aside. If you weren't antagonizing Europe and weren't antagonizing our allies in Asia, it's much easier when you pick up the phone for so-called quiet diplomacy that this president never engages in to get people to hop on board and help you out. Whether it's fair or not, it's just a fact of life. But we have antagonized Europe. We've antagonized South Korea. We've antagonized our allies in Asia. And so getting them to set aside China's concerns and China's power and China's coercion to do something with us is going to be a very tough sell. Now, I could be wrong about all of this, and this could go swimmingly. But I just think it has to be said that we've done this completely backwards, and it's like we're doing these weird somersaults. And now, and Bessent is probably one of the smartest cabinet members and best choices that the president made in crafting the 2.0 cabinet. But the threatened expulsion from the dollar system at a time when people are questioning American leadership and influence around the globe seems to me to be an interesting approach, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, John, it's a good point by David, which is that President Trump thought militarily he was going to bring Iran to heel within a couple of weeks. That hasn't quite happened. They've closed the strait. They've pulled other levers. So now here we are at what they're calling the end game. Secretary Bessent called it yesterday. The president's called it economic D-Day. Secretary Bessent talking about economic asphyxiation of Iran. But to do that, the countries that support Iran right now, China, Russia, North Korea as well, but President Trump's been flattering lately, with President Xi coming to the United States 1 month from right now for a state visit in Washington. Is President Trump, is this administration really going to twist the arm of Xi to completely distance itself from Iran at this point?
I mean, if past is prologue, the answer is no. I mean, I think we have to be really skeptical of this, and the fact that it wasn't part of the initial wave is telling. Yes, I mean, we've been chronicling this for a few days now, that China, Russia, these are not places Trump has ever really been tough with. And now suddenly he's sending Valentines to Kim Jong-un again and wants to have a summit with him this fall. So those are not things. If you're going to do those things, you're probably not going to slam them economically. So therefore, where does this leave us? I mean, yes, the president's probably right in that the military campaign isn't working. But let's also be clear. We're not resuming the hostilities also because we've run out of weapons and we don't have the defensive munitions to be able to shoot down Iranian rockets heading towards American bases in the Middle East or our allies in the region. So there's that. Yeah, diplomacy hasn't worked either. Not only are the Iranians not to be trusted, to be sure, but frankly, they've got the better of us to this point. The MOU was a gift to Tehran, and Tehran sees it as almost codifying their control of the Strait of Hormuz, which is really what this is all about at this point. So yes, an economic punishment is probably the play, but the thoughts on that would be, that first of all, that actually has to have teeth, and secondly, we don't know if it'll work or how long it will take to work, because the hardliners in Tehran don't seem to really care how their citizens suffer. And there's been reporting the last 24 hours or so that some of the more political figures there are pushing the Revolutionary Guard, hey, that like it's time to maybe come to the table, start talking. But we'll see how much influence they really have. They seem settled in. This could take a very long time if it works at all.
Yeah, they're clearly emboldened by all of this. We'll see if this brings them to the table or if any of the countries that are influential on Iran want to participate in this economic asphyxiation, as Secretary Bessent called it yesterday.